Hi my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. On this Friday, we're going to talk about labels, quilt labels. And I want to show you some easy ways to make labels so that you get a label on your quilt with as little effort as possible. Because I don't know if you're like me, it's very possible. I want a label, I think they're important. I do put them on almost everything that I've ever done. But I'm really not one to make an elaborate label. I want something that's functional and fast and effective. So if that's you, you have come to the right place. One of the things I have found is that if I have the parts, like the basic parts for the label, I know there are parts. I'll show you in a second what I mean. If I have those where it's easily accessible and ready to get, then I do not, I don't procrastinate. So what I have years ago, and I've gone through several tins. Right now I'm using this tin. It's got quilt stuff on it. I got it years ago. It was Milky Way put them out. The Baltimore Album Quilt Limited Edition Canister, 1997. I've had it for a little while. And so in here are labels, either the fabric to cut the label or some pre-made labels, but they're all in this container. So all I have to do is get it out and use one. I don't have to go and find the fabric and do anything else. And this is what has worked for me. So let's take a look at some options for easy labels. And then I'll just do a little demo and I'll show you them on the quilt. Oh, before we go. Oh, before. I've got the cookies here. So these are the spiced wafers from Swetzels. These guys, because several of you asked me about them and you wanted to see them up close. So there they are. They're pretty hard. They're hard crack, but they're spiced wafers, which means people say they taste like ginger. Like, sort of, but they're different and they have a lot of flavor. The back here gives you a little history of them. So I highly recommend you just buy a box. Link is in the description box below, and then you will know what they taste like. I just think they're wonderful. You can also warm them up if you like them a little softer. You can dunk them. I think they would make a great pie crust. They show you that as an option. Okay, so I digress. Sorry, those were like right in the view. I had to talk about them. So let's go down to the tin. Okay, what I work with is primarily just squares. Then that's my easiest label ever, but not just a square. We're going to fold it and make triangle labels that will then be put into the corner of your quilt. So let me just show you one corner. So there we go. So this is a triangle label in the corner of my quilt. So it is sewn into the binding when I'm putting the binding on. So two sides. I'll show you the quilt later. And then this goes in here and it has to be whip stitched down, which it isn't yet. But that's it. So in order to get that, I just have squares in here. So all I have to do is take a square out and fold it in half. And the reason I like to fold it in half is that you don't get the shadowing of your backing through it. If I have just one layer, sometimes your backing will come through quite a bit and you can see it. That's called shadowing, and I prefer not to see it. So folding it in half does the trick. So the base unit here is just a bunch of squares that I have in here. But I have also done a little bit fancier things. Those random extra blocks, like there are some random half square triangles. Take some of white fabric or cream fabric and put a little border around it. Toss it in your label bin, and then you can write on the outside here. And then you have a cute little label for your quilt. Now this one you could put two corners, two edges in your binding. So if I was going to use this quilt here, then I would have two edges in and it would look like that. Before I put them in though, I would either sew them under, like press under rather, the edges before you sew it in. So that way it's all finished. That edge over here is already folded under when you put the binding on. I've also purchased some fun labels, here and there, different places. A friend is worth 1,000 stitches, and you deserve every single one, made with loving hands and very sore fingers. These were all a little irreverent. Then here's one I got one time, handmade and stitched especially for you. You know, you just have to look around, and when you see them, you pick them up. This one took me forever. Yeah, those are for special friends. You're one of a kind, and so is this quilt. Then you'll find that different fabric designers sometimes will put out a whole sheet of labels. So this was some that I got a few years back, and it was, you know, like about a half a yard, and it was all these different labels, which are so cool. And occasionally you'll see like even maybe images that might make a cute label. So that was off of a panel, and it had some like these little extra images. So those are my go-to in my tin. Now another thing that I will do, one other thing besides just folding it in half, is if I want it to be just a tiny bit fancier, I will take the square and I will cut it in half so I have a triangle. So get that, whoops. There we go. So I have a triangle. Then I will take a strip, often like the binding. So here is the triangle, and I'll put it on there so you see it. So then I take a piece of like the binding fabric and sew it on. So now what I end up with is this label with an edge on it. And so the edge is really nice, because then what I can do is when I put it into the quilt, okay, now it is single, but when I put it into the quilt, then this outer edge I would fold under, and then you just get this nice extra little, you know, piece of color across the edge, which I really like. I do this a lot. Now I'll show you that one in a quilt. Now I'm getting all these extra labels made. I have to put them in my tin. So here is one in a quilt. So I did use the binding fabric, the same fabric as is on the binding. See the bananas with the sock monkeys? So that just went across on that label. And those are some ways of very easy label making. They're just so cute. Here, let me show you the two quilts. These are both from my book on using, it's out of print, but you can, I'll link you down below to Amazon, where you can pick up a secondhand copy or somebody who's still got copies. So it's from a novelty book. So here's one where you're just, I think I used a layer cake and then just split it in half with some little, you know, extra fabric strips to make it fun and interesting. So you're basically showcasing the fabric. That's a good one where you have a lot of really fun prints in your fabric. And then here's another one from the book with the sock monkey fabric. Ta-da! The bananas. Isn't that fun? And then here, so you can see in all of its glory, the monkeys. I bought the fabric that had the little, feels like, what is that game show that they had? Everybody was sitting in all those positions. That's what reminds me of. All the little windows. Okay, let's wrap up. I want to talk about upcoming sew-alongs, because finally the Woodland Wonderland fabric and kits are all in and cut and ready. Yes. So this is the original colorway. So, and this is the booklet that we'll use for the sew-along. And then here is a picture of the kit done in Joanna Figueroa, who's the designer, done in her newest fall colors, which to me, they don't have to read fall. I mean, they're oranges and greens and creams on a darker background. So we're going to start this right at the end of October, and we'll do it on Fridays. So Friday, you'll get an assignment for the next block. And there's a really nice sheet in the kit. I haven't got my kit yet. I mean, they were just finished. So once I get my kit, I will open it up and show you what's inside and talk about the order that we'll do things. And so it's all laid out in there. And I will, of course, be telling you. So if you don't have the kit, I'll tell you in the book where we're going to sew. And we'll do it once a week, but we'll probably take a break here or there, just depending on what's going on. So it'll probably go like into February of next year making this. I think it's super, super cute. And I want to take a couple of the images, like I want to do just the owl and I want to do just the hedgehog. Look at him, look at the little hedgie. Maybe the gnome and the mushrooms as a table runner. Even this would be a gorgeous table runner, wouldn't it? So I want to do a couple of those things as we go along. Now the other two sew-alongs, I know, this is like sew-along explosion. I announced on Wednesday the Fall Frolic, which is the next block Wednesday. And just to remind you that, you just get there's only 9 blocks. So the fat quarter bundle, if people keep asking me, can I use a layer cake? I don't know. I don't know if you can use a layer cake because I didn't write this for a layer cake. I don't write things for layer cakes. I use, so layer cakes are very limiting. It's only a 10-inch square. So you can start with a layer cake if that's what you have and you want to use, but you probably are going to have to add fabric in order to make it work. A fat 1/8 bundle is probably going to work fine. I'm using a fat quarter bundle because I'm using something I already had. And there's like light and then a lighter medium, a darker medium, and a dark. So those are sort of the colors that I'm working with. But if you have a whole line that's more lights or more darks, it is going to work fine. If you have bigger scale prints, it is going to work fine. These are 9 simple traditional style blocks. Nothing extraordinary or odd or crazy. So I hope that helps. You also have the layout. The whole thing is in here. So read before you ask me. Everything is in here. Remember, I'm only one person. If I have to stop to keep answering things that I've already put in here, that means I don't get to work on the other things that are fun that we get to do together. So I can't take my time to always answer all of those things if I've already told you in the pattern. So please read the pattern. Mwah, please. And the last thing, just to remind you, is the Happy Everything. And I went through yesterday looking at a fabric collection, and I will in the next few days doing other fabric collections because I still don't know which fabric collection I'm going to use. So I'm going to walk through and play around with them. Probably tomorrow on Saturday I will do another one of the collections for Happy Everything. But you have the book, so you know what kind of images these are. You have the layouts. You can kind of visualize where your fabrics and how your fabrics will work. You can go out to my I Love to Make Quilts website, my sew-along website, and you can look at prior sew-alongs to see how the colors work together. So that'll keep you busy. All right, my friends. Okay, I'm going to have a cookie. I'm going to have a cookie to celebrate all this. So I love you. Make some labels this weekend, okay? Make yourself some labels. It is worth it. Make a little tin to put them in. Okay, now really. Have a great day. Mwah. I love you.